Good afternoon, everyone. Great to have you here at the session about governing your data in Fabric. I noticed in the agenda this year that there are a lot of sessions about data governance. We can't do Fabric, but also without Fabric in specific. Well, that's a good thing, and I don't think that most people know that the session selection is based on what the community wants. And there's some input from the community as well. So apparently we as community really like to know more about data governance. So that's a good start. And I'm happy to see that even without so many sessions, on a Friday afternoon, you're here at this session. So thank you. And well, there are a lot of sessions about data governance. This session is really practical. Okay? We're going to look at features within Fabric that can help you implement your data governance strategy and all the things you discuss within your organization. So this means that I'm not talking about data governance in general, okay? So yes, you need a good strategy. You need people and processes in place. It has to be organized. And tools, in this case like Fabric, it's just a part of the whole implementation or the whole data governance you have in your organization. Okay, so we're going to focusing on technology a little bit, so tooling, not talking about people, process, strategy, which should be in place because the features we're going to see by itself has not much of a purpose when you're just using stuff like that, just things you're going to see. It's really useful when it's part of your data governance implementation based on your strategy, okay? By the way, for people who want to have a little bit more of context about data governance, in combination with Fabric a bit and Purview, I've seen a session myself on the Wednesday morning by Wolfgang Strasser. If you're able to see that one back or haven't seen, and you haven't seen it yet, I will advise you to look at that one as well. That brings you a little bit more of context about data governance and, well, what to think or what you have to think about and how important tooling is within your data governance. My name is Hugh Peek. I'm from the Netherlands and I work within the Microsoft data platform, doing a lot of projects for about 15 years now, a lot of on-premise and of course the last many years now in Azure technology. And I think next year I have to put on Fabric as well, but so far there are a lot of things we're going to find out about Fabric, and then I will update this slide as well. If you see stuff in this presentation, you can download it from my GitHub account on the bottom of the slide, and also from the other session I gave on Wednesday, you can download from there. Okay, so I talked about a few that we're going to talk about features within Fabric. These are actually the things we're going to look at. Okay, so we have stuff like sensitivity labels, endorsements, lineages, also the scanner API, domains, which is really new to Fabric. The first four you will see in Power BI, used in Power BI as well, quite a lot. Yes, so we're going to look at them shortly, and then I'm going to show you a bit how you can implement it within Fabric, how you can configure actually things like sensitivity labels and endorsements and so on. Okay, so let's start with sensitivity labels. I'm not going to ask with everything, but I would like to know people using sensitivity labels already within Power BI and Fabric. Okay, I just really see a few hands. That's not a lot. Okay, cool. Sensitivity labels is a way to classify your artifacts. Okay, so it's not classifying your data within your database, it's classifying your artifacts within Fabric in this case. So we're not talking about only reports or semantic models, but also your lakehouse and your pipelines, your notebooks, which you can build in Fabric. Okay, so you can do different kind of labeling. Of course, you can do some manual labeling, item by item, but in the end, you want to automate stuff. Have some default kind of labeling. I think that's possible. But you have to realize that it's specific for Power BI in this case. Okay, so you want to have some kind of policies for documents and emails, and if you email them, you don't want other people to open that kind of stuff. That's not the way it works for Power BI. But it's within your own organization, you can really good set your sensitivity labels, and then make sure that everyone can see them. It's no security restriction. It's just like classifying this is confidential, highly confidential, or it's just everyone is allowed to see it, that kind of things. If you change things like it's like, let's say general, something not really important just for internal use, and I change, let's say, the data model from general to highly confidential, then I want actually the reports based on those data sets be changed as well. Or the pipeline that's using the notebook has to be changed as well. If I change the pipeline, I want to change the notebook sensitivity label of the notebook as well. There's things that can work within in Fabric. And also when you export like from Power BI report to PowerPoint with a live connection, sensitivity labels applied. When you connect from your Power BI desktop to a semantic model within your service, you can see within your Power BI desktop the sensitivity label that's applied to the semantic model. Not everything is great so far, but there are some stuff that you have to think about. When you change something manually, so you have everything like say a general like classification, and you're going to change something to a high level. Let's say you change a report to another sensitivity label, and then the underlying semantic model is changed as well. The report won't change. Okay, so once you did some manual change to the sensitivity label, it won't. The whole inheritance won't work anymore. And there are some limitations with the from the data source, which is actually inheritance from the data source. Semantic model in this case is in preview, but there are some limitations there as well. So I want to show you how it will look like. People who haven't used it yet. So what you can see here is over this side, everything is general, which is just some kind of label assigned to all these objects. And I'm going to change one from the Power BI desktop, and you will see a change in the portal here. So I've got a Power BI report over here, got sensitivity labels. Okay. Let's change it. It said general, let's make it confidential. Yes, confidential. Publish this to this workspace called operations. Yes, there you go. I would really want to replace it, and now I get a message, because it's general, it already exists. It's general in my workspace, and I'm going to override it to confidential, and I really want to do that in this case. Just wait for that. There you go. Got it. And now let's refresh this. It said confidential right now. Okay, so it has changed. So in that way you can find this label. Also, when you have a data set with a sensitivity label, when you look at, as another user is going to look at a search for that data set within this OneLake Data Hub, you will see the sensitivity label as well. So let's change the sensitivity label of a data set. You can do it for all the objects, but I'm not going to do it for all the objects now, right? So we've got more things to do, but let's change it for the data set. The settings over here. Sensitivity label. It says general. If you want to learn more, you can click on that. Makes it highly confidential. And I will click apply, and then you will see the impacted content, because we have the inheritance. I click on it, and you will see highlighted all the objects that is related to this data model. Let's close this one. So you can see there on this data model, there are 3 reports. The report itself, which is actually empty, the sales report based on this data model, and a supply report. Let's go back to this view. And now you can see that the operation data model is changed. This one is changed as well, but the sales hasn't changed, even though it has the inheritance. But that's because I changed it manually, okay? So it won't be overwritten. So just keep that in mind. I think in general you want to do this as automated as possible with default labeling or with maybe programmatically with PowerShell or something like that. Yes? But it's something you can start with. And where did those labels come from? It comes from Purview, but then the compliance portal from Purview, which is not the paid version of Purview, all the new things you see, but the kind of old compliance portal. So that's available for everyone. So I've got my information protection over here, and then labels and label policies. I have set my labels here with says general, public, general, confidential, highly confidential. Could be everything. It's just what I said it should be, must be, and as many labels as you want. And then you create a policy, because I can have 30, 40 kind of labels, but then apply them to different kind of objects like Outlook or Word or Power BI. I only have Power BI, so I've got one policy which assigns those 4 labels, and then within the policy I said, okay, this policy has to be applied to all Power BI objects, and now because it's all Fabric, it also works for the Fabric objects. So if you turn this on for the Power BI environment, it will work for Fabric as well. Any questions about the sensitivity labels so far? No? Okay, cool. Let's head over to the next one. To the endorsements. Endorsements is more like, look what I have, okay? It's promotion. Everyone can promote an object within the Fabric and saying to everyone else in your company, look at this data model, this is really good, or not, but okay, I assume that you have a reason to promote. It doesn't make sense for everyone to promote, because the value of promotion it has no value anymore, of course. You cannot turn it off. So I haven't seen this that much used in a very good way, because, well, you have to train people actually that they use it in the right way. Okay, so it could be, you could use promotion, but then people have to be really good at saying when it's promoted, not promoting everyone because it looks nice. On the other hand, the other endorsement is certification, which is more like a stamp of, okay, this is controlled, checked by the business, IT, and we're very, very sure that this data is correct. Okay, so that has much more value, and that's something I see quite a lot in organizations, that from central BI departments, they create some semantic models, for example, and they will have the stamp of certified. And other people creating reports and data models, they won't get those kind of certification. Okay, so you can limit the people who can certify objects. I mean, like reports or data sets that other people are building on, or maybe even lake houses in the future. So far, not very useful. I think mainly useful for the data sets and the reports. Okay. Quick view how it looks like. Let's go to the portal again, to my workspace. And well, let's make the data model. Here's a semantic model over here. Let's endorse it. Let's certify it. Let's have a look over the endorsements. It says none over here. Of course, you have two options. Actually, you got three. None is also an option. But you got promoted and certified. So let's certify. And you also have the option to make it discoverable, which actually means if you're not allowed to see, in this case, the data set, if you're not allowed to see the data set, you can still find the data set within your OneLake Data Hub. Okay? But you're not allowed to see it, so you have to request permission to the data set. Something you can do. So let's make this certified and discoverable. It says it's certified now. Go back to this place, the workspace, and you can see the certified thing over here. Now let's log into as another user. Okay, so I'm here with another user within the same tenant, and I'm gonna refresh this page. I'm in OneLake Data Hub. Okay, OneLake Data Hub on the left. Let's have a look over here. It says certified and operational data model. So this one is certified now, even though I'm not allowed to see, and that's what you can see here with this kind of icon. Now, because I make it discoverable, you have this icon and you can ask for permissions over here. So, well, it will this email address of Sven, and I would like to have permissions. Okay. It's actually not the best way to give people permission to a data set. Okay, so because normally you want to do this with security groups, this way you give one person individually permissions to a data set. Okay, but you can enable this as a request, and when someone, the data set owner, get that request, that person needs to be added to a security group if you do it the right way. Okay. So very short on the endorsements, you can also endorse an app or all the other items within Fabric. I think mostly the app and data set and the reports are most relevant at this time. Let's go for the next one. I want to combine two. That's lineage and impact analysis. We already saw in the demo a little bit of the lineage, and I think most people using Power BI will recognize this. This is actually the same feature already available in Power BI to see the lineage, what's connected to all together. But now we're not talking about reports and data sets only, but also about other items within your Fabric environment. And when I look at lineage, I'm always thinking, okay, where is the data coming from? This I'm actually looking from the report back to where's the data actually coming from which data model, which lakehouse, and maybe even which source. It's not that fancy yet. It gives you some information, but it's not that you can see, okay, it's from this data table in your lakehouse, that kind of things. It's not that specific, but it's easier to find where some data is coming from. And it's only, you get some insight from within your own workspace, or just one level up or down, the way you want to look at it. There's more. It's not more than that. So you don't have one big view over all your workspace. I guess you have to buy Purview for that, or have some other tool that will read all the metadata, and then you can create some lineage view. But this is just for everyone available. On the other hand, you have impact analysis, which is the same kind of view, but it gives you a little bit more about, okay, I have an object, I'm going to change an object. I think the purpose is a little bit different, but it's kind of the same feature. I have a data set, let's say a data set, I'm going to change it, what I'm going to hit. Okay, so if I change a semantic model, which reports will have impact by the change I made in the semantic model. And if I'm going to make a change, let's say I've got a data model as a BI team, and I know there are self-service people using that data model, creating their own reports because they have built permissions, or creating Excel, whatever. I want to tell them I'm going to make changes. Okay, I wouldn't advise to make column names change and that kind of thing. But if you do, you can notify them you're going to make changes. And just to be sure, not the Excel users, though they won't have a clue that you're going to make changes, but you can inform the people who created Power BI reports and then publish it to the workspace. Those people can be notified that there will be changes. And I think you have to work with some detailed environment where you first publish your change to acceptance or something like that. And you will have insights about one level further, so one workspace further. So if I have a data set on one workspace, report another workspace, we will find the connection. But if you have a lake house in one workspace, data set in another workspace, and a report in another workspace, from your lake house on, you won't find the report. Okay, so there are some limitations here. And you have some few more limitations on the, for example, there are no data flows. You can't see connections within the data flows. So have one more look, because we already looked at it once, but now more specific on the impact analysis and first the lineage. So when you have this view, I'm just going to zoom out a little bit to show you what is in here. It's just a simple Fabric environment with one lake house, SQL endpoints. I got a SQL Server connection because, well, I've got my data somewhere stored. And I got a notebook, another notebook, and one of the notebooks is called by a pipeline. So there you can see all the connections over here. So when I click on this small icon, show lineage, you can see when I click on the load his notebook, it's called the pipeline is using that one, and the load his is connected to the lakehouse. Every notebook is connected to a lakehouse within Fabric, so you can see which notebook it is and which lakehouse it is. Of course, I can click on the lakehouse operations lakehouse, and you see almost everything except from the source that is connected. Or I click on the on this one. Let's take this one. Here you go. And you can see the whole lineage of what belongs together. And when I click on the impact analysis, we have a little bit more information. That's the other icon. So let's get the impact analysis of the SQL endpoint. And then you can see all the child items. I'm going to track it like this. So the direct child items. So it says the child items, which is the lakehouse operations model and the data model, which are those two. But I actually want to see everything. So I can click all downstream items. Then suddenly I see two semantic models, those two, and 4 reports, and those 3. But also apparently there's another report depending on the lakehouse SQL endpoint, and we can see that if we change the view to which workspace, let's scroll down a little bit and zoom out. There you go. You can see within the workspace of supply, there's another report which has this data model, connects to the data model, operations data model, and that's why it shows in this view. Okay, so it gives you a little bit more information. It just goes one workspace further. So if something else is depending on this report, or if this report was a data set or something else was connected to the data set, you won't see it here. But you can, when you make changes, for example, let's change this. Let's change this data model, all downstream items, and we, let's have a look. Let's take this one. Here you go, all downstream items. And if I want to notify those people, I can email this, and all the owners of the datasets, reports will get your message. I'm not really a big fan of this kind of communication because I have no idea who will get this message. I don't see all the. I actually want to see the owners, but that's not what happens here. So you can notify them, but it's Nothing more than that, okay? You don't see the names here. Any questions about this impact analysis? Lineage view, is it clear what you can do with it? Does it make does people have the idea, okay, now this is interesting for us to do, to use in a short term? I think I see a few hands, okay. I think for the most people, I guess there's a lot of things to do with the strategy first and the people and the process before you just start using this feature, okay? Doesn't make sense just to, I mean, it's really easy to see some stuff when you're developing, for example, and see the lineage, but it's not that powerful yet for a developer. Most of the times you want to see a little bit more deeper insight, but for an end user, it can give you some insight where data is coming from. So let's go to the next topic of domains. Here you go. Domains. A new thing within Fabric if you compare it to the current Power BI or Synapse or whatever environment. Domains is more a logical grouping of your items. So you're not storing your items in different places. It's just grouping of your workspaces. You assign a workspace to a certain domain, a business kind of distribution of your workspaces. So if you want to use domains, the idea is that it's connected to some kind of to a data mesh architecture. You might have heard of the data mesh architecture as well, but you can use it without the whole data mesh architecture implemented, of course. But the domains is more like a logical grouping of your items, and you're actually working. Your workspace will be assigned to a domain, and then you can set a group of people working on those workspaces because those workspaces belong to a certain domain. On the other hand, you can have end users viewing reports or building reports belonging to a certain domain. So within your OneLake Data Hub, you can also filter within, for domains and just see reports or dataset that belongs, or pipelines or whatsoever, that belongs to a certain domain. Okay, so especially at the beginning, when you have your Power BI environment and you want to adopt domains and want to start using them, and let's say you got 30, 40, 50 or even more workspaces already and you want to put them into domains, that's quite a lot of work. You can automate that for a bit. You can automatically assign stuff from certain people to, let's say, from some kind of pro user who has built a lot of reports. You can say all his reports and all his workspaces he's admin of, for example, all his workspace will be moved to a certain domain, just to start with. Or you can work with, if you have good naming of your workspace, you can assign workspace to a certain domain based on its name. Okay, so it's not, the domains is not a different kind of storage, okay? So you can have domains with workspaces stored on different capacities, if you have multiple capacities, but still belong to the same domain. It's just another way of looking at your workspace, all your artifacts. Just a different way of looking at it. Yep. And yeah, it only works in the context of OneLake because, of course, it's new. It's part of Fabric. It only works within Fabric, so it won't work in currently in Power BI. Won't go there anyway. So it's just a specific for Fabric. But let me show you what it is and how you can manage that and configure it. In that case, we have to go to the admin portal, which I have here, the admin portal. On the left, you already see domains. Okay, so it's a new item in the menu. It says new also. So I can click domains. I only have one domain, but you can control your domains here. So that means that at the beginning, your Fabric admin needs to control your domains. Okay, you want to give other people permissions to control the domain. I would say more like a business/IT person has to be controlling the domain, which workspaces should be in there and whatsoever. But first you start with someone like a Fabric admin can create a domain, and then you can assign for example, admins and contributors to this domain. So let's have a look at this domain, which I called operations. I even have a subfolder within domains. I only can create one level of subfolders. I only have one subfolder within here, but also I got a workspace called stock. So I got you see the workspace in here. So every item within a workspace is part of this domain called operations. And in here I got two other workspaces. So let's have a look at what you can control. It's not that complex and not that much. But you can have an image, but you can also have, that's more important, you can set admins. Of course, you use security group to set admins and other roles. But you can assign admins and contributors. And admins and contributors are the ones who can assign workspace to domain, who can control what's in the domain. Okay? And admins can do it a little bit more than contributors. Contributors can only assign their own workspaces to a domain. Admins can assign all workspaces to that specific domain. And also something like a default domain. So if you know that someone will create workspaces once in a while, and that one specifically belongs to operations or HR or sales or whatever business domain you have in your organization. Hopefully more, otherwise it doesn't make much sense to use domains. So you can say if that person is creating a workspace, automatically assign that to that specific domain. Okay? You see a group over here, operation contributors. That means that everyone within your group, what you can see in your Entra, everyone in that group, all his workspace will be assigned to the specific domain here, to the operations domain. There's also the option to delegate some settings, and that means that as a Power BI or Fabric admin, you have a lot of options. We know that a lot of options in your tenant settings, and you can assign some. Well, I have to say, for now, exactly one thing to configure, and you can delegate it to the domain admin. Okay, so that's about certification. There's only, but what this means is that who is allowed to certify? What I said before, you can limit the persons who are allowed to certify certain objects within your workspace. So if you have a domain, you as a domain admin, you can override the tenant setting for that. And you can assign specific people who are allowed to certify certain objects. So let's just assign some domains as a beginning, just to show you how it works. Assign some workspaces. So there are two ways to assign workspaces just as a bulk. By name, by person name, by admin, or by capacity. This example I want to show you just by one person, everything where the person is admin of, for every workspace, it will be assigned to this domain. So let's give me this person, then apply. There you go. Let's refresh. And now you see a few more workspaces here. I have to say that those 3 workspaces are new, and the admin is Sven Williams in this case, of course. So when I go to that person, that was the same person of the endorsements before. This one, I'm going to refresh. This person has quite a lot of workspace too. So you can see his workspaces, but you can also see this little icon which is saying, okay, you belong to a certain domain, okay? And because this person is also a contributor, he can change the workspace settings and then change the domain over here, even selecting the subdomain. operations, all operations or supply management. That's the subdomain over here, because he's one of the contributors to this domain. So he needs to be either and workspace admin and domain contributor to do this. Any questions about the domains? Yeah, one question. Oh, yeah, that's maybe easier. Thank you. Oh, one second. Yeah.
When you assign the admin to the domain, and just below that, the admins can also assign the certification. Can you delegate other tenant settings to that domain, or was it only that certification option in there?
Only the certification option.
Okay.
It can be set. It can be delegated to the domain admins.
Okay, I thought we could delegate other ones, but it's just a certification in there.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks. And I will show you at the end. From the admin portal, you have to check the box that it can be delegated. And there's the only one thing, and that's certification. Yep. Other questions? Nope. Okay, let's go to the next one. And now I'm going to the, looking at the metadata. First, we got the Scanner API. So that's the REST API that you can call, and then you get all the metadata from your environment back. Okay, I did it quite a lot for Power BI. With PowerShell calling the API, give me all the metadata, do that every day, and even write that back to some database just to see some history of when stuff is created and that kind of things, and who's the owner and what has changed. Now, to get all the Fabric items, you can use the Scanner API, and well, it's really a technical approach. Okay, so you can get all the artifacts: who's the owner, who created it, what's more within the artifact, what's the sensitivity label, that kind of things. So it's powerful, but as said in the slide, if you want to make it really powerful, you want to combine it with activity logs. Okay, so you want to extract activity logs as well. You can extract a Power BI activity log, quite easy. But if you want to extract the whole logging of Fabric, so creating Lakehouse and that kind of stuff, you have to go to Purview audit logs. Okay, Purview audit logs, you can extract all that data, but you need Purview in that case. So yes, I think it's nice to if you want a free kind of option. So you will get all the information, all the metadata in JSON format, and then use it in the way you want. Maybe you want to store it in a database, or you want to just build some report to see your current situation. Okay, so because it's really hard to find a total overview over all your workspaces and all the artifacts you have within all your workspace within your tenant. So a way to extract the data, of course, is PowerShell. It's my favorite tool to do these kind of things. Just in short, you need to connect. Well, of course, with the service principal, I'm not going to connect with my account because that won't work if I want to automate it. Normally, I wouldn't put in the secret in my code as well, but feel free to do this. I don't really care. But now it's in here. The secret, but now if you execute this, you will log in, get all the workspaces, and I want to make one scan. That's how it's called. You create one scan of your whole tenant, all your workspaces, and then when I get the scan ID, I make one scan, I wait a few seconds because it's not ready instantly, so I have to wait a few seconds. And then I'm just going to save it to a JSON file, but of course you can do much more with it. If I execute this, it will create a new JSON file on my local storage. There it is. And I'm just going to open it, the new JSON file. Just 1 second. Here you go. just some formatting. So I got all the information. I just like to look up the lake house. Let's go to the operations data. Here you go. You got all your workspace, of course. So let's go straight to the workspace we were working on, which was operation data platform. We will find the lake house, of course, some GUID, the name, updated and modified. Also stuff like sensitivity labels and endorsements. If you can set endorsements on the object, you will find it here. So you can find quite a lot of information, some basic metadata on your all your artifacts. And we got a data pipeline as well, because I had a pipeline. And then you find a few other things, because it's well, it has other properties than a lake house, of course. You'll find all your stuff in here. Hopefully this kind of information sounds interesting, but the way you have to do it might be less interesting. Okay, and Microsoft has created some kind of solution to help you to get some information already without extracting the Scanner API. So you get the Purview Hub, and the Purview Hub is actually what we can find in the Scanner API, but also modeled in a data model, created some reports out of the box, free to use. But it's focusing actually on the sensitivity label endorsements. It won't give you a one overview of all your workspace and then lineage and that kind of stuff. Okay, so it's nice to start, and you can also have a difference between who's admin, who's not admin. As an admin, you can see everything. As a regular user, you can see all this kind of information for you as a specific user for all the workspaces you're an admin of. So when I open that Purview Hub, let's go, there's the icon over there, and then Purview Hub on the bottom. It says preview, by the way. There you get a default report. I will open the full report immediately, because that's much more interesting. And then, as you can see, it will focus on stuff like how many objects do you have with certain sensitivity labels, type of objects, endorsements for each workspace, that kind of stuff. Items per workspace, and some other report, sensitivity, focus on sensitivity labels, some analysis. Not my favorite visuals. You cannot change this, and unfortunately you cannot connect to the data set that's underneath this, because that won't. In that case, I don't have to call the Scanner API and build my own data set, which will take a lot of time. But this is just some default views you can use. And also maybe interesting is the inventory report, where you can filter on usernames. Well, if you're a admin, you can filter on the usernames or item type and see how many of those things are labeled as endorsed and that kind of thing. Okay. If you want to have more kind of information, so this is just available within your Fabric environment. If you want more, then you have to move to Purview, and then you can do not just more insights, but do a lot of other stuff as well. Interesting, this kind of, people think this interesting, this kind of information? I would think so, right? So especially if you combine with activity when a certain data set is used for the last time, or which workspace has no admin anymore, that kind of stuff. It's I think that makes it really interesting, this kind of information. Just by itself and doesn't say that much, but you have to have some processes that needs this kind of information. So if you want to clean up all your workspaces, or to know who is allowed to see what kind of data sets, who has permission to certain data sets, who are allowed to see some data, that's actually really what you want, and to find that information. So it's available, but not directly within this kind of reports. Okay, so hopefully I give you a good overview of what Fabric will give you of features that will help you setting up your data governance strategy, which you should have before really implementing this kind of features. Maybe you can use some of these features, but in that case, There you go. In that case, yeah, just be careful in how to use it, because no, the best way to use it is if you have really a good process that depending on the way this is implemented it. So we saw things about sensitivity labels, which is just applying some classification on objects, endorsements where you can create a stamp on something like certification, or maybe let everyone promote his or her artifacts. Lineage and impact analysis to see what's connected, and if I change something, what will be hidden by my change, what will be affected by it, and also some way to gathering metadata information, even by hand or just default by the Purview Hub. And again, it's really powerful, if you ask me, if you combine it with activity logs, just to get more and more insights. So hopefully there will be more features coming within Fabric. I'm not sure about that, but hopefully there will be more features that will support our implementation of data governance within your organization. Any questions? Yeah, one question for the microphone. Thanks. Yeah.
The lineage and impact analysis. Is that automated, keeping those things all tied together, or is that metadata that you have to be maintaining as you are doing different things?
You mean the impact analysis?
Impact analysis. Yeah.
No, that works automatically. Actually, just when you create a pipeline and connect a new notebook to your, or add a new notebook, call new notebook in your pipeline, that will be visible. Okay, if you remove it, it will remove, of course. And also when it's in another workspace, it will be updated automatically, but not visible in the view, but in the extra pane, that will be visible. Yeah, okay, you're welcome, you're welcome. Any other questions? On the back, no, one more question. Yep.
How does... Thanks for the session, by the way. How does some of the endorsement and certification work across deployment pipelines? You know, because I'm thinking here, you might be working with non-sensitive data in dev and test, and it's only when you get to your production workspace that you might want to classify it that way.
Good one.
Or certify it for people to consume it, for example.
Yeah, I can imagine. So what you've seen is mostly focusing on how to implement it for a production environment, right? So when you're working on test and acceptance, I assume that there are less people have permissions to that kind of workspace. I wouldn't use things like endorsement for not anything else than production. Okay, so I will just keep it on production. Yeah, okay, you're welcome. One more question? Okay, in that case, please share me some feedback. I really look forward to the feedback. And if what I've heard is that all the feedback, for every feedback, there will be some money for a good cause donated by SQLBits. So if that's not a reason, I don't know. But still, thank you very much, and have a great day.